You're welcome to the Department of Physiology, Laboratory Section. We share this lab with biochemistry as well, and we shall be going through a few of the equipment and the roles that we do. But to start with, I am called Aikobua Emmanuel Tio, Department of Physiology, Assistant Lecturer and the Coordinator of Lab Activities in Sorority University.
I am Mr. Pirin Francis, Laboratory Technician, Physiology Department, Sorority University.
I'm Mr. Tim Jimmy Shadrack, Laboratory Assistant, Physiology Department.
In this department, we function as a teaching department, and we also participate in research. So this laboratory allows us to do a few research experiments and also allows us to teach and mentor our students in the line of medicine. Physiology is the study of the normal function of the body, which allows us to understand how your body functions in general. So before your body malfunctions, we must study the normal function. Now, we began teaching physiology in 2019. However, because of Corona, we had to have a few adjustments. And as we might all know, physiology is supposed to be taught physically. There are things we cannot escape, like the practicals, that must be done. However, Corona has taught us to adjust from some of these norms, and we get to adopt new norms. Okay? So let us take a walk through this, and then we shall see what to do. We also have a number of equipment that we are going to show you as we move that are used for carrying out practicals. The first section of the laboratory that we have here, the setup, is equipment that is used for running experiments that cover the blood and body fluids, or the function of your blood and the body fluids that you have in your body. We have a centrifuge, and then we have a micro pipette centrifuge. These can be used to do experiments that determine the concentration or the proportion of the number of cells that you have in your body. These allow you to know if the ratio or the packed cell volume in your body is appropriately balanced. We have other equipment here. We have a pipette holder somewhere here, a microscope, which allows us to do full and differential white and red blood cell counts. The microscope also allows us to do other tests, like urinalysis, and others that we might not mention today. Under blood body fluids, all of you might have seen that you also do blood grouping. Each of you must know that you must do your blood grouping so that you know your blood group, because any mismatches that occur during your blood grouping will lead to very fatal accidents. Then, of course, we must be very sterile. We have the gloves here, we have the bleeding lancets, we have alcohol, which allows us to keep the environment sterile and keep it free from any form of infections. Okay, that is the first step. The second portion of the lab that you see here is what deals with the role of your respiratory system, how you breathe in and out, how you exchange gases. We have to measure the lung volumes, most commonly in physiology, and what we have here is what we call the wet spirometer, which is using spirometry, which allows us to know the lung volumes. Are you breathing the right volumes of air? Is there any difficulty in the breathing? What can we deduce from any malfunctions? Like we said, physiology deals with the normal, and the normal, in this case, will help us to predict the abnormal. Yes? So we have a wet spirometer here, thanks to the government of Uganda, and then we have a digital spirometer. Since we are advancing in life, since we are advancing in development, we have decided to also adapt some new technology, which is what we see here, the digital spirometer, which is made by the iWorks. It uses a laptop that is there, and our lab team is well trained to conduct these activities that are digitally done. Now, this allows us to adjust our mode of teaching. How? It allows us to do recordings, which recordings can be shared with our students remotely sometimes, in case they don't need to come to the university premises for some experiments. This allows them to gain familiarity with what we have. Okay? All right. So the next section is a few experiments that tackle the nervous system. What you see here is the commonly used weights that we have here. For students to use this, you must be on the campus. Yes? So, because of Corona, I'll talk about some of the adjustments that we had to make so that students can come and use these things and do the practicals without having any impediments. This allows us to do the Golgi tendon reflexes and then a few other experiments that we can handle in physiology as regards to neurophysiology. Neurophysiology also has other reflexes like the knee jerk that we use the patella hammers for. We have the whole kit here of fresh equipment that we use. This is what we have so far. Yes, it's very effective. And to experience some of these things, you'll have to come and join us. We have the tuning forks, which help you test if you have any hearing defects. If you're deaf, is it conduction, deafness caused by conduction, or it is caused by neuroactivity? Yes, or neuro deafness. Yes, these tuning forks allow us to test for these defects. Then we also have, so to accompany what we just saw, we have what we call the sphygmomanometers. Like we said, we have the digital, which is of recent, and then we have what we have been using all through. We have the mercury, which allows us to, it's quite more accurate than the digital. We have to also show the students because of the first principle mechanism. Then we have the digital, which we have here nowadays in most hospitals. We have this. We have to teach our students to be up to date with technology because we don't want them missing out on technology, which will make their service in the future impaired. So these two equipment plus the aneroid that we have here allow us to know your blood pressure. We're able to teach the students how to take your blood pressure to know whether you're becoming hypertensive or not possibly. If your blood pressure is high or it is low. That way we can easily we can easily teach them how to make certain diagnosis from their observations. Thank you. Some of our experiments in the physiology lab will require the use of an actual student as to illustrate. Sometimes we have to use, not invasive, but then we have to allow them to get into a more private environment. And this allows us to occlude while we're doing the experiments. Some of the experiments are the experiments that require the use of the electrocardiograph. The electrocardiogram is a machine used to measure your heart function. Yes? Is your heart pumping normally? Is at the normal rate? Are there any insufficiencies? Are there any arrhythmias? Your normal heart pumps rhythmically. Yeah? So this machine you see here, as bought by the university, allows us to do such tests on the students. The bed here allows us to test these students when they are lying in a supine manner. These bikes you see here, these decorations that might look beautiful like bicycles, are called ergometric bicycles. They allow us to test what changes occur in the heart, for example, when a child does exercise or when a child is running or riding a bicycle. These imitate hard work that is being done, or exercise that is being done. We can also use these to do experiments in your respiratory system using the wet and the dry spirometers that we had shown you earlier on. This is a universal kymograph, and this is an accompanying organ bath. These two equipment allow us to do research on muscle tissue function. What new things have we done since COVID came? How have we adjusted? Because initially, what we did was bring the students into the lab, organize them in groups, and they do the experiments. But ever since COVID came, we had to learn to adjust and keep safe. We had to social distance, we had to sanitize, and wear our masks. Though I've removed mine for the purposes of proper communication. One, the university advised us, and through our head of department, to create groups and shifts in which the students are going to come for practicals. So what we do is, we have simulation software that is currently being procured from South Africa. That software allows us to familiarize the students with the experiments. After that, when they are done with all the online, they will come to the lab in shifts and then do the practicals physically so that they get a hands-on experience. So that allows us to keep on track with the schedule of the work. So also, from the emergence of the COVID, the university rolled out the ODEL, or the Open Distance and E-Learning. We had the online platform, which was constituted, and it allowed us to teach everything almost online, except for the practicals, like I said, in which we divide the students into groups and shifts, so that each student gets a hands-on experience with each experiment. We also have the simulation software that we are procuring that will allow us to get the students to have a more realistic environment, a virtual environment which allows them to experiment from the comfort of their hostel rooms or from their homes. We also have a very, very nice and beautiful, well-equipped library with virtual books, original copies of the virtual books, which the students can access from their homes and not have to come to campus to read. So it has allowed us to minimize contact among the students. We have also decided that as a lab, we minimize the number of students in the lab. So this lab space you see here, which could initially host over 100 to 150 students, right now we only have 20 students to 25 students coming in per session, per practical. That has allowed us to conduct these practicals in a manner that upholds the Ministry of Health guidelines.